What is going on, guys? So today I'm finally going to be talking about something not One Piece related. I'm going to be talking about Seven Deadly Sins, and something I don't usually do is I'm going to be actually being quite critical about the Seven Deadly Sins. I usually talk about how awesome it is, and it's just a really fun series, which it is awesome and it's very fun. But in the last like 20 to 30ish chapters, basically this final end to the series that we're getting, I have had a few issues with the power levels and whatnot and just the overall battles that have been going on. It really has made no sense at all whatsoever in ways that I wouldn't even expect it to make no sense. Like just the straight up numbers that are being given are completely baffling. I don't really understand what is going on with the thought process on all these numbers and these different fights and power scaling and whatnot. It doesn't make any sense at all. And it really is quite curious to me because I don't really have a problem with the way the story is going or anything like that. It's more that I just can't believe how inconsistent these people's power levels seem to be. And it's something I can get over, I suppose. It's not like it's completely ruining the story for me. I am happy that it's coming to an end and it seems to be going quite well. But it just really is crazy when you actually look at all these numbers and how inconsistent it is. So I just wanted to make a video going over all these things that are just blowing my mind, and I want to see what your guys' opinions are. So the first thing, this is when it really started getting weird, is King and Diane's power levels, right? So they were their 3,000-ish, maybe even 4,000-ish by the time it started happening when they went against Gloxinia and Droll. And then with their weird thing where they went to the past, they magically got a lot more powerful, which I'm actually okay with. I don't really think it's that fair how they got that much more powerful from doing nothing, basically, but whatever. They then were in like the 30 to 40,000 range. Diane could get more powerful by doing her dancing or whatever bullshit that is. Okay, that's all cool. That's great. They basically were both a little bit more powerful than Gloxinia and Droll, respectively. So that made sense to me. However, for some reason, I don't know how this happened, but King comes out of nowhere and is just unbelievably powerful. Like, he isn't anywhere near Diane for really no reason. I don't see why he just had to be so much more powerful than her out of nowhere. I mean, I understand that it was his wings that caused this change to happen, but like Gloxinia and Droll seemed to be very close in power. We had the King of the Fairies and the King of the Giants, and they were similar. They just specialized in different aspects of fighting. But now, I mean, this is how much more powerful King is than Diane. Maybe you think that they're close or something still. No, this is the difference, okay? When Esterosa took in all four of the commandments, he had a power level, a confirmed power level of 200,000. This was something that had never been seen before in this series. He basically was like as powerful as we might have expected the Demon King to be or something. Not really quite there, but like it was, when we see this number, we're like, oh my god, he's just going to one-shot everybody. And that basically is what he is doing. By the way, Esterosa having a power level of 200,000 with 4 commandments inside of him makes absolutely no sense, but we'll get into that later. So he has this number of 200,000, and he's wiping the floor with everyone. Diane and everyone. I mean, they stand no chance against this guy, which makes sense because she has like a 40,000-ish power level. Of course she's not going to stand a chance against a 200,000 power level. That just goes without saying. However, then King comes out of nowhere with his new form and one-shots him. So I don't really know why there is this huge difference between Diane and King for no reason, despite the fact that they kind of seem to have been built up to be similar in power, but that was something that just happened out of nowhere. I don't know how King is one-shotting people with the highest power level we'd seen at that point, but you know, whatever. What are you going to do? So now, then, really, we get to the more recent stuff that's been going on with this final battle around trying to protect Meliodas and rescue Meliodas. And so many of these power levels just are completely different than what they used to be. I mean, Zeldris has a confirmed power level of 60,000. That is the number we were given. Yet he is somehow tangling with people like Ludashell, who have a confirmed power level of 291,000. Now, keep in mind, like I said, Estarossa, with his 200,000 confirmed power level, was the highest we'd ever seen in the series up until this point. So him having 291,000, which isn't just higher than the 200,000, but significantly, is pretty weird considering that Estarossa, or Male, whatever you want to call him, was supposed to be the strongest of the 4 archangels. He wasn't the leader, Ludishel was, but he was supposed to be the strongest. Now, of course, he doesn't have Sunshine, but in this form he was in, he did have 4 commandments. So I'm not saying he necessarily needs to be stronger than Ludishel, but he should at least be closer in power level overall, not this 100,000 gap. Keep in mind also that he still should have closed that gap anyway, considering he comes back later and is fighting Zeldris. And he is not maybe winning, but he is doing a pretty good job of fighting him. And sure, Zeldris at this point has confirmed power level of 60,000, but I'll get into how that is not the case. So he's fighting against him without Sunshine, without the 4 commandments. When he has 4 commandments, he should not have this 91,000 gap in power level. It just makes no sense whatsoever. It's extremely inconsistent. But then getting back to Zeldris. So this guy is supposed to have a 60,000 power level. However, he is soloing Merlin, Escanor, Ludishel, all at once. He's taking them all on at once, and Merlin is using abilities that don't even make any sense. They're so unstoppable, nobody can do anything. Escanor then uses the 1, and thank God, Escanor actually does end up getting the better of Zeldris. However, this is supposed to be the most powerful thing in the entire world. I would have thought that maybe it's supposed to be stronger than the Demon King or something when he's in High Noon. I don't believe that's the case anymore, clearly. However, I could have seen that being a possibility. And even, not just Merlin says that this is the invincible incarnation of power, but the narrator actually says, or maybe it's not a narrator, it's just the thing that says that it's basically a narrator, called him invincible. So I don't really know what to say. I mean, the fact that Zeldris was even able to tangle with this at all makes no sense, especially since he's supposed to have a power level of 60,000. I mean, this is the same form that took Assault Mode Meliodas, which Malescula did claim to be Meliodas at his full power. Zeldris now is claiming that's not the case, but she did say, yes, I've seen his most powerful form, and this is it. Got one-shotted by Escanor's hand. So I don't know how Zeldris is able to just take on Escanor like this and not do that poorly, but this is something that did happen. Again, and it's not even only Escanor. He's fighting Merlin, who is basically just enhancing everyone else's abilities to a ridiculous extent. And then he's fighting Ludishel, who has a power level of 291,000. Like, what is even going on here? This guy is supposed to have a power level of 60,000, and he's taking on a guy with 291,000, the one, Escanor, and Merlin, who's hacking. So I don't know what's happening right here. I don't know why Zeldris is so powerful for basically no reason at all. Speaking of Merlin, okay, she is basically unbeatable. It's confirmed in this. I mean, she has unlimited magic, and she can teleport just by snapping. So she can just teleport away from people that are pursuing her as much as she wants. And there's no problem there. They're just going to exhaust themselves going after her. There's nothing they can do. She can just teleport as much as she wants. That's instantaneous. So that is a lame strategy, but it's something that could work. I'm not saying she can necessarily even beat anyone, but she can't be defeated herself if she just keeps teleporting away from people. She also has Perfect Cube, which is unbreakable, and it lasts an indefinite amount of time because she has unlimited magic. Like, this doesn't make any sense considering she's supposed to have a power level of 4,700, 4,710 to be exact. So, yeah, again, really, let's consider that fact that she's supposed to have under a 5,000 power level, and she is pretty equally effective, you know, as like Ludishel, who has a power level of 291,000. So, I guess magic is just more overpowered or something. But, you know, that's not even really true considering she's competing with Chandler's magic. They have this like thing where they're both using abilities, and his is just a little bit more powerful than hers, Chandler's. So that was a thing. But then that doesn't even matter, because then Merlin, who has a confirmed power level of 4710, under 5,000, okay, then single-handedly completely incapacitates Chandler and Cusack. So I don't even know what to say. I mean, they were kind of being built up. Like, the characters are literally saying, like, these guys are actually more powerful than Zeldris. And she is just single-handedly taking them down. And she gives an explanation as how she's doing it. She's like, yeah, I figured out the resistances, whatnot, all this. She gives an explanation. But, like, what do you mean? You could do that with any character. You could find out the weakness of anyone, and then she can just beat it. Can she take on the Demon King? Like, what is this? Why is she able to compete with these people? I have no idea. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's just absolutely insane. I mean, Male comes in and fights Zeldris, like I was saying. And they're basically even. I'd say Zeldris kind of won that fight, but it was even for the most part the entire time. And this is Male coming in without the 4 commandments that he had when he got one-shotted by King. So it's just all over the place. People just, it's like all these numbers have been thrown out through the series, which was really nice. It gave me a gauge of where people were at. But it's like they keep getting thrown out there, but they're not being represented that way. Like, he'll throw out a number of somebody's power level and another of somebody else's, and they're going to be completely different, like super far away from each other. Then these people will fight each other, and it's like evenly matched all the time in this final battle. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if people are just rapidly improving, but I mean, what's happening here? The funny thing is, and this is the last one I really want to talk about, and I don't want to talk about it too much, is this might surprise some people, but the only one I'm actually okay with is Ban. Ban has now come out of purgatory, and he is fighting relatively evenly with the Demon King in Meliodas' body, which is by far the most extreme jump in power level we've seen. By far. Like, not even close. He could easily probably one-shot any of these other characters I've been talking about this entire time. He could probably one-shot Zeldris, Ludishel, maybe the one. He might be able to one-shot the one, guys. I mean, he's fighting the Demon King, and he's doing quite well, and he doesn't have his immortality anymore. So, yes, the reason I'm okay with this is because while he was in purgatory and he had his immortality, he was basically constantly being killed. So for like thousands of years. So his body just got super strong, I guess. And I basically been saying I thought that this was going to happen. I thought when he came out of purgatory, because Meliodas even claimed, like, Ban, you're actually a lot stronger right now. So I basically kind of figured this was going to happen. He was going to end up being like the strongest of the 7 deadly sins, except for maybe Meliodas himself. And that seems to be what's happening, and maybe he even will be stronger than Meliodas once the Demon King leaves his body. So, I don't know. I'm okay with that one, honestly. There's an explanation for what happened here. Like, that is something that actually happened. These other people, they just change in power levels all the time. All the time. I mean, really consider this. Really consider the thing about Male is one of the craziest things. When he had the 4 commandments in him and he had this unstoppable 200,000 power level, it took 2 archangels, the 7 deadly sins, and Darieri to just even try to work together to stop him for a brief moment so that they could rip the commandments out of him. Just stop him for a second. It took 2 archangels. 2 archangels were completely overwhelmed by Male. However, then we find out that Ludishel has like 50% higher power level than him, who is an archangel. So I just don't understand what is going on in this series. I don't understand where these numbers are coming from, why this is necessary for them to be so inconsistent. I don't really see like that. I don't think this had to happen. I think everyone could have just worked together and it would have made more sense. But no, it's so insane. I don't even know what to say. I don't think it's something that's going to be fixed. I usually, when stuff like this happens, I'm like, well, I'm sure Oda has a good idea of what he's doing. I'm sure he has a plan here. It's over. Like, I don't know what else to say. I just think it's really funny. It's something I talk about with my friend Kibby a lot. I'm just like, dude, every chapter we read, we're like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, nothing too much of substance in this video probably. It's something I like laughing about a lot. I thought maybe you guys are thinking the same thing. I haven't really heard many complaints about this, so I thought it was interesting, something kind of worth talking about. Leave me a comment letting me know what you guys thought. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment letting me know what you thought. If you liked this kind of video, just making fun of something kind of weird in the series. Even though, don't get me wrong, guys, I love Seven Deadly Sins. I think the plot's pretty fine, too. It just doesn't really make sense how these power levels are working. So that's all I really want to say. Hopefully you guys are having a great end of your weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon.